Are we live? Okay. Hello, Savannah. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of Candidly Kesha with yours truly, Alderwoman Kesha Gibson Carter. Tonight, we do have a guest in the person of Alderwoman of the 1st District, Brunetta Lanier. She will be joining us to talk about what's happening in the 1st District and some exciting developments as it relates to planning and so forth. We are excited to be joined by her and possibly a team of architectural experts from IAA. Um, Listen, we are finding ourselves in this time, and we want you to like, and share, so that we can spread this message broad. In addition to what's important in the 1st District, it's also to know that what's happening in Savannah is very important. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everywhere, we have a crime crisis in Savannah. And while some may say it's not unlike national trends in terms of what's happening in other states and other communities, we know as Savannians, what we are experiencing is far too great for the resources coupled with our bearing capacity, our depth, our reach. Is far too great. We are behind, which is why we are experiencing the level of crime that we are. You see, when you miss steps and you miss opportunities to avail yourself to implementing those elements that will aid in foregoing the level of violence, gun violence, street crime, homicide, rape, robbery, we can tackle it a little easier. There are no full cure-alls for all crime, but we do know that we can make incremental change if we do it early, if we do it often, if we are consistent, if we are competent, and if we are sincere. And so, what I want you to do is consider this. I have said for a long time that when the media insulate incompetent elected officials, they thereby become culpable in what we have or do not have in our community. And right now, we do not have harmony in our community where safety is concerned. One would think that being in the house at a decent hour, one would think if you're not hanging out with certain elements, uh, one would think if you just, keep to yourself, crime, gun violence won't impact your life. But we have seen where people, unsuspecting individuals, in the privacy of their own homes, minding their business, doing what they consider safe, doing what they consider comfortable as a natural part of their life, they too become victims of gun violence. That dynamic, coupled with the fact that the majority of the crime that we are experiencing here in Savannah is at the hand of young people. And so when you look at our professional bearing capacity, we ask the question, why can't we get a handle of our young people? Is it simply a governmental problem? No. Where we are now, amidst this crime crisis, it now will call for all hands on deck. What does all hands on deck mean? It means everyone, from our judicial setting, our prosecutorial setting, our incarceration setting, via our jail, as well as our own personal police, as well as the county. What we are remiss on is recognition that Savannah is within Chatham County. And so, by virtue of that fact, Chatham County officials are also, or should also, be as concerned, if not equally as concerned, as Savannah's leadership where crime is concerned. And so, because we did not take those early steps in 2020, I'll tell you, when we took office in January of 2020, we had an uptick in crime that was increasing month by month through the summer. By March, it became alarming because we nearly doubled the number of homicide the same time in the previous year. And so as a result of that, I asked, and it's recorded, you can go and pull it up from the archives of our meetings that are logged on our Facebook page, as well as the City of Savannah website. We had a workshop where I asked the chief of police at that time, Roy Mentor, what was it that we could do within the coffers of the City of Savannah, our resources, what is it that this council could do to aid in helping to reduce the number of homicides that we were experiencing? And the response was something related to galvanizing the faith community, hosting a rally, talking to a group of business people. It was dismal. The response, it was dismal. And so as a result, we continue to petition, but in tandem to the uptick. Hello, Pastor Jones, good to see you tonight. In tandem to the uptick in crime, we were also in receipt of a complaint by 71 officers who acknowledged that their working conditions were poor, the morale was poor. This letter was signed by 71 officers to include 5 captains, 7 lieutenants, 17 sergeants, 16 corporals, 9 advanced police officers, 9 detectives, and a non-sworn employee. And so with that, when people were openly complaining in 2020, and then we matched that with the fact that we were also, and there were a group of us as council members who had previous experience who were also concerned about the police department as we were coming into office. Hello, Mr. Maynard, thank you so much for your work. I want you to, producer, send that link to Mr. Maynard because I want him to chime in here tonight. But going back to what I was saying about crime, in this letter we received, in this complaint, I want you all to know that despite our appeals to discuss this issue in executive session, despite our appeals to look more seriously at the problems that were going on within our police department, mind you, I am a member of the minority on council, and minority, I mean voting number. The mayor, who makes all of the decisions, he functions, unlike our charter calls for, he functions as a strong mayor, a tyrant of sorts, whereby whatever he does, whatever he says goes. And so that's why where we are, where crime is concerned, rests solely on his shoulders, because the remainder of council, at least none who are a part of his voting 5, now 6. He has a new recruit. We were never consulted. We've never been asked our opinion. We've never been able to give our thoughts. We have attended funerals. We have showed up at crime scenes. We have consoled family members. And for me, it's just not enough. It's not enough as an elected official to simply just show up on somebody's hurt when I know that from where I'm sitting, the most and the best that we could have done was just simply not done. So no action has been taken. The only action that has been taken is the mayor and chief mentor went on a trip together to Germany a week before he resigned. Now, we received a letter from the city manager probably about 20 minutes before it went public that the chief was going to resign, whereby he stated that he and the chief had been talking for months about his transition as he was being courted for a U.S. Marshal post. So if you're talking to the chief for months about his transition, why would any fiscal manager who's fiscally responsible and prudent think that it would be okay for the person who has your top job as a law enforcement official within our local government to go on a trip to Germany with the mayor, and for what? In addition, this is amidst crime increasing, homicide increasing. This is amidst us bleeding more police officers. We are down more than 100 police officers. One figure is about 120 or more. That's almost a fourth of our police department. That's a huge part of our crime crises here in Savannah. You know what other communities in Georgia who are experiencing similar uptick in crime is doing? They're calling in for mutual aid. We haven't done that. But you know what we have done? We've used the aid and the resources of the citizens of Savannah to focus in on one area. Producer, I hope you have these pictures ready. Just because we experienced 2.5 shootings in City Market, we now have a no persons under the age of 21 can be in City Market after 11 o'clock. Now, the mayor presented this as an idea of sorts. And this is where the media gets a little messy and refused to hold this individual accountable. And so as he's pitching this, there's huge pushback from the community. And so about a week later, one of the media affiliates, WTOC was one of them, that's one of his favorite coddlers, they basically take the story and spin it and says, well, the businesses in City Market are going to take it upon themselves because they lease City Market from the city of Savannah. The city of Savannah doesn't have purview over what these businesses do by way of this type of a rule. Like, who's going to enforce it? I just said we're down more than 100 police officers. Courts are swollen to the hilts. The jail, really? We're going to jail people for being in City Market after 11 o'clock? If I had a 17-year-old or 16-year-old unattended, yes, I would be concerned about that individual being in City Market after 11 o'clock. But you know what? There are some individuals who actually work within those corridors of downtown who are under the age of 21, 18, 19, 20. And so I also further learned that this has become a common hangout for a lot of the African-American young people in our city because there's really nowhere to go. And so this rule hits like a slap in the face to that demographic. And so I was curious. So I went downtown Friday night, drove around, and this next picture is what I was met by. So we've had multiple shootings in Yamacraw, Frazier Homes, East Savannah, South Side Savannah, West Side Savannah, and I have never seen the level of police presence like I saw in City Market. I'm talking beat police officers walking the street. Let me see another picture. Lights everywhere. These SUV police vehicles, these lights here, 4 or 5 of them in each square. It was so lit, I thought it was daylight. Officers doing in City Market what I would want them to do in some of our other higher crime areas. So this was an immediate response. This was an immediate response. And what I'm saying to you, Savannah, is it is high time that we start caring more for the citizens of Savannah who pay taxes here, for the citizens of Savannah who live here, than for tourists and people who visit here. Yes, they need a level of protection. But you know what? The tourism industry also have to take a part and play a role when we are crippled already. And so what is it about the citizens of Savannah who pay taxes here and live here that are less important than the tourists? Go back to one of the videos. Not only did they have lights, y'all, cameras, police officers on foot, police officers in SUVs, they had a helicopter hovering over the area. It's a wonderful response to a crisis situation. But what areas are least deserving? Is Yamakra not deserving of this? Fraser Homes, Fred Wessels, Pennsylvania Avenue, the West Side, Augusta Avenue. What are we doing here? So what I want you all to do is recognize that while crime is skyrocketing, we're paying for the lights, Mr. Thornton. We're paying for the lights. We're paying for the extra patrol. And we're paying for it with your money. Which brings me to my next point. We need you. This is not about me. This is not about elected officials. This is about doing what I set out to do and said I was going to do, and that was empowering the people. We are coming upon a very special moment in Savannah. It's a pivotal moment. It's a pivotal moment where folks who do not care about you think that you are still asleep. But fortunately, Savannahans are waking up. I need you to wake up a little bit faster. I need you to plug in. We need you to engage. I want you to go to your county website. I want you to go to your City of Savannah website, pull down those weekly and bi-weekly agendas. Look at how we are spending money every week, every 2 weeks. And then I want you to look at what's happening in your communities. Hello, Alderwoman Lanier.
Hi there.
And I'm going to ask that you chime in a little bit on piggyback on here for me. I want you to look at what's happening in our city and what's not happening. If you see on the agenda where we paid almost $500,000 for 69 miles of the median in our city to be cared for, and you don't see those medians cared for and cut and trimmed and garbage collected in your areas, you call me, you call your city representative, your district representative, you call that city manager's office. This is your money. We, in a couple of days, will be talking about the millage rate. And I told you, the next time a politician comes to you and say anything less than the rollback to the lowest amount, you don't want to hear it. And that's what they're going to be selling to you in the next couple of days. All of your property taxes increased over the last year because 6 members of council voted to keep the millage rate the same. Keeping the millage rate the same meant that your property taxes were going to increase because everybody's property value increased. And when your value increase, the amount that it's assessed by will cause your taxes to go higher. Who, what elected official, elected servant would raise property taxes coming out of a pandemic when we ourselves receive federal subsidies and bailout? And now they want to play games with ambiguous language with you yet again and expect for us to go along with the gaslighting and manipulation by telling you that rolling the millage rate back to the lowest rate it has ever been in the history of Savannah is what the city manager is going to do. But guess what? It may be the lowest that it's ever been, but it's not the lowest that it can go. Right, Alderwoman Lanier?
You're absolutely right. Good evening, Alderwoman, and to your audience. As a city, we're going to definitely have to reevaluate how we render services and how we direct the resources of the city. If we see on evening like this evening, we have witnessed that we have not allocated enough to our infrastructure, especially the drainage infrastructure, because with just the rain that we had today, it failed. So that means we have failed, and there are solutions, but we have not had the political will to make that the priority it needs to be. And I don't believe that the public and the citizens are going to continue to accept the neglect, um, and continue to pass these referendums and these plazas and all these things, because it started out being for drainage and infrastructure, and now it's about capital items. So what you said about the taxes and the rates is absolutely true, but it's so much deeper than that, because we are not really focusing on where the focus should be.
Right. Well,
I'll leave
listen, I appreciate serving with you so much because we can have these in-depth conversations. And what I want our listening audience to know that as working professionals in politics, you don't always agree on everything. But the one thing I can appreciate about Alderwoman Bryant Lanier is that as a professional, we agree to disagree. But I have learned so much from this woman. And I often say that she is the smartest person on council when it comes to the work that we're doing. And I'm so excited about the work that's happening in the first district, which brings me to our next guest, and I'll let you introduce them. But today was an exciting day. You, through Ivory Bay and Dr. Grimm, were instrumental in having the first district be selected for this special project. And we're talking everything when it comes to providing support to the area, when it comes to resiliency, when it comes to sustainability, economic drivers. I want you to walk through in baby steps the processes whereby we engage with AIA today, what it means for the first district, but what it can essentially mean for the entire city of Savannah.
Absolutely. So this is a great day for us and such a wonderful opportunity to have the AIA come to Savannah to assist the west side of Savannah. I've been looking high and low, Alderwoman, for help for the west side of Savannah, and that starts with planning and the proper planning. And we needed some help there, and the AIA has answered that charge and come here to help us with a plan that has action steps that we'll be able to implement to help manage the growth and development that is targeted towards or happening now in the West Side. So I'm going to now introduce Dr. Grimm, Dr. Deidre Grimm, who is the CEO of Ivory Bay Community Development Corporation. And the work that we're doing is all about organizing. And if we organize correctly and if we carry out our assignments, we could change the trajectory, the agenda, the narrative. And that's the work that we're doing in these communities. And Ivory Bay is the partner that handles the business as a community development corporation. Dr. Grimm.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lanier and Alderwoman Gibson Carter. I'm grateful to be here this evening. As Alderwoman Gibson Carter explained, Ivory Bay was chosen by the Communities by Design program from the American Institute of Architects to come in, survey what we have going on in the community, and continue to move forward and work with us to create a plan for the communities around specifically the Canal District and the in market arena. We know that gentrification is going to happen regardless of what, but what we want to do is stave forced displacement. um, I, I got some feedback that forced displacement can be an alarming word, and it should be an alarming word. But if you need to, understand it in layman terms, basically, our communities are no longer looking like they once used to. Um, African American and brown and low wealth people are being pushed out, and the community is changing. So AfriBase seeks to create generational wealth and low wealth communities. And what we want to do is ensure that our generational residents can age and build wealth in place. We are of the mindset that we have the self determination to do that. The community knows what they need and desire, and that's my, professional training as an urban planner. That we do not make decisions without the community first. And so we were grateful that the AIA team was here to listen, to take in, and many of them here have the same issues. This has been going on for decades. It precedes me. And so I am so grateful that we have Mr. Roland England, who is the team lead for the Communities by Designs program, to assist us, as well as Mr. Omar Muhammad, who hails from Charleston, South Carolina, which is also my first home. And we have seen this as a case study. We are continue to be the case study for all of what can happen in lower wealth communities when the political will is not there. And Miss Lydia Gabby, which is my third home, which is Southern California, as when it comes to Black and brown folk and our communities changing, and what happens to us when we end up having to move to the desert. And so I'm grateful that this great team has been here and has been a listening ear. And I would also be remiss if I did not thank our board president, Mrs. Lorraine Monica Bowles. She was very instrumental in ensuring that the AIA had all the information and tools that they needed to succeed in this particular process, as well as she has done this work in the lower ninth ward of New Orleans. And so we have an illustrious and world-renowned team here to help us do this work. And so we also make a plea to the community to come out over the next few days at the Adams complex, the Adams administration complex, to put your input in. But I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Roland England, and thank you all for having us this evening.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Grimm. That was a great welcome, and thanks for the laudatory statements. You've introduced my colleagues, but they will introduce themselves a little later. I want to start out by just talking a little bit about the AIA process. The American Institute of Architects since 1967 has run the Communities and Design program. And this program is really meant to help communities, neighborhoods, and city halls focus in on redeveloping or developing communities that are in need of some help. And it's been a really successful program all over the world, quite frankly. We've done charrettes in the Virgin Islands, Brazil. But the one takeaway from our visit and the program is we come at the behest of the community, we serve the community, and we listen to the voice of the community, and we feed back in the guise of a master plan or a plan for redevelopment of an area. We're all volunteers. We're all individuals that have other careers. I'm at Cleveland State University. I work as the dean. But we all feel very motivated to help communities through providing our expertise. And coming into this community, I must say, you all have generated a lot of excitement, a lot of potential, and we're just here to help you understand what you can do. And from then, you are the ones that will take it and implement it. And I just again want to say thank you for allowing us to be helpful. And I want to ask my colleagues to just jump in and give some remarks. Why don't we start with Lydia Gaby, and then we'll go to Mr. Muhammad.
Thank you. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this evening. I'm a consultant here joining with the AIA group. And, I'm just thankful to be here in Savannah with all of you, helping to uplift some of the important community issues that y'all have been talking about. So that's things like affordable housing and addressing gentrification. It's things like ensuring that investments in projects like the arena are benefiting the community, that they're helping to build wealth. And it's also things like environmental justice. What can we do to make sure that the people who built Savannah are not subjected to flooding, asthma, cancer, and some of these other things because of the industry that brings dollars into the economy but is taking dollars out of our wallet because we have to pay for all these health issues on the back side of it. So as Roland said, what we're really here to do is to kind of try to bring our expertise, uplift the issues that y'all think are most important, and provide some recommendations about, what can be done. And in particular, what can be done now? Because we know that people are tired of waiting for the investment, tired of seeing plans and not seeing the action. I'm joining from an organization called HRNA Advisors, and what I bring into this team as a group of volunteers is I come from more of the financial and economic analysis side of things. So I'm thinking about questions like, well, we know that people have proposed some solutions for years. How can we find the money and the people power to actually get something done? And how can we do things the right way so that it's building long-term wealth for your community? So, we're here to pass along some recommendations to all of y'all later this week. We're going to be hosting a couple of meetings. I won't take up too much time. I want to pass it on to my colleague. But, please reach out, follow on Facebook, and follow to see if there's something that, in our recommendations that you like and you might actually want to get involved in supporting. Because, what we want to do is support you all in advocating for the change that you want to see. And if you're able to sort of support that in any way, then, we hope that you'll kind of watch and learn and take that opportunity. So I'll pass it over to Omar.
Thank you, Lydia. Good evening. My name is Omar Muhammad. First, I want to thank the organizers for allowing us to share this space with you. My name is Omar Muhammad. I am a city planner with the city of Charleston. I am also the executive director for the Low Country Alliance for Model Communities, which work with 7 low wealth communities in the city of North Charleston on similar concerns that we were able to experience today doing the tours. And I want to lift up and highlight that environmental justice move beyond just the environment, right? Environmental justice include everything that impacts people's quality of life. So it is the housing, it is the built environment, it is your economics, it is the educational attainment of a community. So it's every aspect of conditions and situations that impact people's quality of life. And what we saw today it are environmental justice challenges. So I just wanted to express that. And I am looking forward to continuing to engage this process and help the community in any way that what we have learned in best practices from what we have been able to apply in the city of North Charleston, help to see that implemented here to improve the quality of life for all residents that make up the city of Savannah. Thank you.
So listen, we have you here as a team to help put forth information related to protection and a plan to help residents forego unchecked growth and development, particularly that which they are not benefiting from. I will tell you that we have a volunteer group of individuals here in Savannah who, when we first came on to council, approached us some months later and came to us with a plan to redevelop one of our largest, most beautiful parks in the city of Savannah, Forsyth Park, that many of you've probably seen. And so we know that that is a plan. And so at the end of their work, they're going to submit this plan to the city of Savannah in hopes that we fund the plan. Is that a little bit of the scope of the work that you all will do with regard to what you'll present to Savannah, a plan of action, a set of recommendations with the idea that there is some funding that will, there has to be some next steps, right? What are the actionable steps? That's what I'm excited to get to, because I know what the problems are. I know we need to fix them. So with regard to your work, what do those next steps look like for elected officials? What does the next step look like for residents? And I want to applaud Ivory Bay and your team for welcoming and embracing the residents. Nothing did my heart more good to see that we actually were talking about what's good for a neighborhood, and the people in the room outnumbered the professionals. So thank you for that.
Well, let me take a bite at that question. We work for the residents of the district, at the first ward. We were invited in by those folks and their representatives, and what we hope to do is come up with a plan that encompasses their desires, their needs, and what can be done. We will present that plan with clear recommendations, and hopefully the residents and their elected officials can use it to garner resources, to make the case for resources from a whole plethora of organizations and institutions. City Hall may be the primary person or primary institution that's approached, but there are foundations, there are federal agencies, there are other possible partners that can be employed. So once we do a plan, an implementable plan, we feel it's up to the local residents to implement that plan. And if they need further assistance, technical assistance, we're happy to provide that. But the heavy work has to be done in community and for community.
So what does that look like for you, Alderwoman Lanier? I know you've worked at this for a long time, and you all are to be commended for the legwork, for just bringing AIA to the table. I know that there was a competitive process of sorts that I have no understanding of. I know somebody else did the work, though.
But to be able to have a structure in place where you can engage the residents and build alliances, this is the work right now. Even to carry out this plan, the residents of this area who are impacted by this growth or this unchecked growth and development, they're going to have to continue to organize and work as a partner with the city, or with the city as a partner to these residents and other stakeholders also, to implement this plan. So we're basically still building that foundation, building on that foundation so we could conduct business in this manner. And this is what we've been working towards, just opportunities for residents to speak for themselves, to be in these leadership roles, to be in the room, to acquire these grants themselves, because we can't depend on the city to do all that the community needs, and that's been proven. So this is just another way of being involved and taking a role. And the city has acknowledged that they will work with a neighborhood advisory council who will be doing negotiating for benefits. So all of this work is about setting up new systems, breaking down old systems that have not worked for us. And we have decided to conduct community business like corporate business, because people understand that, and that's what get things done. And so you have to have these plans in place. We have a lot of plans in the area, but there's no synergy, to bring all these plans together to make sure that they're working for the impacted residents. And so I'm excited about this work, Alderwoman, and I know you're going to be involved in helping us implement this plan.
Yes, for sure. And when you talk about plan and how planning and plans and how important it is, when we look across our community today, we see several planned developments that are quite successful. When we look at the Eastern Wharf, that was by design. There's a planned community. When we look at what's happening across the river at Hutchinson Island, it's a planned project. It's by design. When we look at what we now know as the entertainment district, what's the new Kessler thing at the end of the river? It's by design. It's a planned community. And so as we traveled through the corridors of the first district, Mr. England, Mr. Muhammad, and Ms. Gaby, I love welcoming people to Savannah. I am so proud of my city because she provides for an amazing backdrop for an incredible visit and vacation. But what saddens me is my day-to-day work for the citizens of Savannah. When I see the plight that they are experiencing and have experienced for decades previous to my arrival to council, and to think that I could change it in 1 year or two or even a term, it seems daunting. Today, after our tour, as much as I know my city, I found myself incredibly drained. I don't know if you all noticed it, but I was just drained. I was tired. And I thought, why am I so tired? Did I not have enough water today? I had my coffee. Lunch was great, Dr. Grimm, by the way. But when I got home, it all came down on me. I was emotionally drained. My spirit was so low. And so, Mr. England, Ms. Gaby, Mr. Muhammad, I want you to tell our audience from the perspective of your profession, however you articulate it, tell them what you saw on your trip today.
Well, I'll start and let my colleagues jump in as they see fit. But I've done this work of building self-determination in communities for over 30 years now. And so what I saw was a community that's mobilized, a community that is passionate, a community that's willing to advocate for themselves. And that's the first spark of change, the first spark of community and economic development. And so I came away from that site visit very energized. And I understand, Alderwoman, that it can be crushing. But you see, I think you see these challenges on a day-to-day basis. For us coming in and seeing the passion, the desire, it's quite ennobling. And so taking that passion and turning it into action is where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. And I guarantee you that your community is ready to do that. And that's why I have a lot of optimism about our work here. We can show you, we can codify what needs to be done, but I'm quite confident that you have the assets, the people power, the social capital to take it to the next level and make it a reality. And after all, isn't that what we're all here to do? So I'm hopeful.
Mr. Muhammad, I'm sorry, Ms. Gaby.
I think I'm leaving with hope as well, and I'll say because as we were traveling around, it was so clear how many people care about this community. So many people are invested in the future of this area. And so many people just care about each other. We were waving, saying hi to strangers, friends, family, making connections, talking about, what we each think is most important in this area to be addressed. And when I see that conversation really pick up, even though we're talking about really heavy things, because people are engaged in the conversation, because they are not shrinking away from the difficult topics, then it makes me feel hopeful that, we can bring in some of our thoughts about what we have seen elsewhere and provide them to you to say, well, how can we get going? And what does action look like? So we saw the beauty of a lot of the neighborhoods. We also heard a lot about some of the different issues, like people have, as Deidre was saying earlier, people have been pushed out of different areas of the city, and we want to try to get ahead of that to the extent that we can. I think we are feeling prepared given the work that we have done elsewhere. Each and every single one of us have worked in this space of addressing the forced displacement that we are talking about in this project. We're feeling hopeful because these are not, even though they might be scary issues, these aren't something that y'all are dealing with alone.
Right.
We have tried and true methods that we can suggest to all of you to weigh and consider and think about how can we, take what we've learned, take the best and leave the rest. So Omar, anything that you want to reflect on?
Yeah, so I ditto my colleagues' comments, but what I saw today is a community that is powerful, a community that has a lot of potential and a lot of opportunity. And I think when that potential and opportunity is tapped into, you have something here that is that has the ability to spark change, right? And the people that I saw today was very passionate, very committed to seeking that change. So that's the beginning there, right? When you have those type of people behind you, uh, the political will come, right? It has no choice but to come when the people move in a direction
Yes.
and take the agency and the power that they have to move towards change. The political system will shift.
And you bring a unique perspective from the city of Charleston. Whenever I think about Charleston or Hilton Head or St. Simon's Island, I think about the fear that we have here in Savannah that we're going to become like those communities. And so, from what you all saw today as we drove through Clearview and saw where hundreds of residents were forced out of that pre-existing vulnerable area, and God only knows where they have been able to set up residence, and some of them are facing evictions that they have on their record and they can't rent anymore. And then we see dumping sites, we see the environmental pollution from the ports in the areas. What is it that you did in Charleston? Because Charleston, in some degree, is a bit sanitized, like St. Simon's and Hilton Head, and we see that those trends are quickly creeping up on us here in Savannah. What is it that you're doing in Charleston, and what does that look like in terms of what we can do here in Savannah?
The first thing we did was unify different communities, right? We work across 7 communities, similar to the communities we toured today. And in unifying those communities, we had to come up with one plan, right? That was actionable, that was time bound, right? This could not take 10 years because these was immediate concerns, just like what we saw today. So that would be a similar process here, right? That these communities collectively work together, collectively share a vision on what they want their communities to be, right? And I think once you have that shared vision, it is easy to communicate your needs and your wants, right? It's difficult, it's easy to pick communities off when the political system can cherry pick which community they want to work in, what plan they want to embrace. But when you have one plan, it is hard for them to divide you. So I think that that is something that we were able to achieve in the city of North Charleston, that one plan for those 7 communities that was embraced by the city of North Charleston. It was incorporated into the comprehensive plan. And then that is what sparked a lot of the redevelopment work, right? That's just the beginning. The really hard work is ensuring what is in the plan is is acted on. So that's where long after we are gone, the community has to take the responsibility of
Yes.
ensuring that those recommendations that are put forward, that there are action taken on those recommendations. You have to keep this before your local decision makers.
Yeah, and Dr. Grimm, I would like for you to um, tell us what that looks like for all of Savannah, because as Alderwoman at large for the entire city of Savannah for Post 1, when I think about what's happening in the first district, I'm excited because it is for 2 decades or more one of the most underserved communities, high in poverty, high in crime, and the least represented of all of the districts. So I'm excited for the first district, but I can't help be concerned about the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth, because the threat of what's happening in the first district, while not as great, is also happening in other areas of the first district, to include the Highlands in the Weeping Time area. We also see over in the third, bordering on the fourth district, what's happening to our Olympus neighborhood. And then we have the West Chatham community that's constantly under threat for development and big business there. And then even on our south side in the sixth district, we have, you know, what are those things? Storage units taking over the community. And then in the fifth district, we have missed opportunity after missed opportunity with the fairgrounds. But Dr. Grimm, tell us, because you know we have 6 districts here in Savannah, and we know we have one Ivory Bay that's devoted to the first district. But what and how can we replicate this for other districts and do what Mr. Muhammad is suggesting by really bringing all of the communities together, establishing one plan for one Savannah vision?
Thank you, Alderwoman Gibson Carter. So maybe about a couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting with the residents of the first district. It was to engage them to explain about the Neighborhood Advisory Council and the benefits of having such council. We had representation from 9 out of 10 of the first district West Side communities at the meeting, and they left there with an unmatched power, an unmatched vision that we hadn't seen in a long time. Because unfortunately, these people believed that they had no voice. They believed that they had no power. But we all know that there are strength and power in numbers. And so therefore, when we were at the meeting, we talked about the issues that are happening in the community. I started off the session about what makes them passionate. And I think the community realized that the same issues that were happening in one neighborhood were happening in the rest of them as well. And so it's all about unifying under the leadership of Alderwoman Lanier, who represents the ILA 1414, unionizing and collective bargaining and working together and having a solid voice would be instrumental for all of the communities or the districts here in Savannah. I know that they're doing great work in the 5th district with the leadership there. And we want to make sure that it's replicated, like you were talking about here in the 6th district. We're seeing storage units coming up in areas where there are missed opportunities. It could have been a recreation facility. It could have been, I'm one who likes to skate, even though there's a skating rink by the mall. We have a growing population of younger adults and as we call them, buppies out here in the community that may wanted to see more entertainment. And so I feel that as Ivory Bay CEO that the model has to be replicated to continue to help people actualize their power and know that their voices are being heard. And I know that you, Alderwoman Lanier and Alderwoman Miller Blakely, do a great job of uplifting the voices. It's just ensuring that the political will from the other 6 members on council are behind the people as well. And so I charge every district, if you have the ability to consolidate or work together and work together as one in unison to bring a plan to city council, I'm quite sure it'll pass. It's just hard to sometimes navigate when you have different egos in the room. And so that's one thing I always have learned, to put the letters behind my name out the door and leave my ego at the door before I walk in the door, because it's not about me. And it's not even about the people that are sitting in the seats right now. It's about the people that are yet to come. So that's one suggestion that I would have.
Well, if Alderwoman Lanier would let us borrow you, I would love to host a session and have you speak with other neighborhood association presidents to see how we can get AIA in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th district as well. So, and 6th. Listen, Alderwoman Lanier, I want you to close us out with any parting words. I'm looking forward to being with you all before you leave. So, Alderwoman Lanier, you can also remind the audience of where they can join in on any sessions that we have planned if we don't all get washed away in the rain.
Absolutely. Yes. To add about Ivory Bay is a wealth creation model in the form of a CDC, a Community Development Corporation. So that model could actually be applied and be beneficial to any low wealth community. And it's all about doing community building or creating generational wealth in communities by using asset-based economic development. That's a bottoms-up approach to economic development. It's generated by the resident. It's resident-driven, citizen-driven. So it could work the model could work in any community as long as citizens create collaborations with stakeholders and negotiate for benefits and put those in the form of a legal agreement, so we can conduct this business like corporate business. And because there's been so many promises coming towards these Gullah Geechee neighborhoods over the decades, and we haven't seen the promises really materialize until now. It's really absolutely necessary that we conduct business this way. And so you could really take this model and apply it in Pinpoint or anywhere right now. But Ivory Bay is in Chatham County. But of course, we started on the west side because that's home. And that's where the worst conditions are. And wherever there are the worst conditions, that's where you're going to have your most opportunities. So we started at home, and we want to spread it abroad and share this model with anyone. So people are doing some very similar things and believe in the concept of community building and building alliances and that type work. So, but it all starts with the plan. And that's what we are in having the AIA here, that it is very important that we get that plan and implement it. But unfortunately, we shared this opportunity with the local media, and they weren't interested in carrying the story at all. But that doesn't surprise us, of course. But this is important work. We are proud to be doing this work. We've been called to do this work, and we will continue to do this work. And you know what I'm talking about, Alderwoman, because you're on the battlefield doing this work also. So thank you, the team from AIA. Thank you, Dr. Grimm, for the work that you do, Alderwoman. And I'm just glad to be, in the number, and we're going to do what we do.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Jones, AIA stands for American Institute of Architects. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So listen, we certainly have exposed our audience tonight to an area or a continuum of care for a community that is unique and not very common, certainly new to Savannah. in this regard. And so we are hoping to host more sessions like this and have an opportunity for our audience to weigh in. But in the interim, Dr. Grimm, if you could put your information in our chat so that if people have questions, they can direct them to you. And if you would follow my page for at least a day and respond to some of the questions there that are not within my pay grade. So how about that? Listen, you all have been wonderful. I know it's been a long day. I hope you have been able to enjoy our beautiful city and her cuisine. And it looks like you have a pretty comfortable room there. So get a good night's sleep and be ready for tomorrow. The hours for the meeting tomorrow in the location.
We will. Okay, I'm sorry. I believe the team is going to begin at around 8:30, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and they'll be at the Floyd Adams Administrative Center at 20 Interchange Court. If anyone has any would like to come and give information about it, just ask for the AIA Community by Designs program. They'll know which way to point you all, and we look forward to what you all have to say, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. We want to hear every voice and leave no stone unturned. We thank you again.
Well, listen, I'm excited about our future, and I can't wait to see what happens for the first district. And we're looking forward to replicating it in other vulnerable areas of our community. You all have been kind and gracious with your time. Thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thank you for having us. Good night.
I like that.